Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another event video here on Marvel Strike Force. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Justice for All event, which is going to be another for the month long of the World War Olympus. I think, in fact, this may be the last one for the month of February before we move into the month of March, which is going to be all about the 7th anniversary of Marvel Strike Force. We'll have lots more to talk about that. In this event, they have really changed the structure of how events may be going forward. Today, or this week's event was supposed to be a leaderboard event. Turns out that it's not. And this does bring into question of whether or not they are going to continue doing regular event leaderboards every 2 weeks or not, because this would have been the time to do it. Seems it's being skipped in favor of Whalestones. We'll be talking about all that and more in this video. But before we get to the rest of that, I do want to give a quick word to today's video sponsor. Hey everybody, have you heard of Hero Wars? Because if not, well, maybe you should. This game has had a crazy amount of downloads because it has some of the most in-depth strategy that you'll find in a game. You might think that games like this are easy, but they're quickly becoming something that really takes more thought and planning to outplay your enemies. Now, who doesn't love a game with solid hero synergy? And Hero Wars has this in droves. You need to understand what characters work well together and why to create your strongest teams. There is also a decent amount of PvP that requires knowledge of the game, like which heroes to use against tanks or that counter mages. Building the right team is so important to games like this. And finally, who doesn't love seeing your characters get stronger? Hero Wars has awesome progression as you upgrade your skills and manage your resources wisely. Hero Wars is definitely more than just clicking some buttons. Now, if you're ready to take on the next big challenge, then do I have some exciting news for you. I'm thrilled to introduce Peach, a brand new hero with a dark and mysterious past. And exclusive to the mobile version, there will be some brand new events lasting a 4-week adventure to uncover the hero's story and an exclusive opportunity to unlock her from February the 16th. So what are you waiting for? Download Hero Wars from my link in the description down below or using the QR code on the screen and see how far you can go. Try this game today. Now, before we get to the event math for, I was on the wrong side, for the Justice for All event, I want to talk about Age of X Lilandra. So on Monday, we do have, starting on February, which is Monday, of course, at 1 p.m., we have the raid portion of this starting. So for those of you who don't know, this is the daily raid chart for the stuff that we're going to have to do for this. It's, nothing that you probably aren't already doing already. But you have to make sure that you are doing 10 raid battles a day, and this is going to be a daily repeating milestone. For how long, I'm not entirely sure, but it is starting on Monday, and you're going to need to do 10 attacks, and that's going to give you 360 Mcron crystal fragments over the 10. Now, I suspect that if you miss a couple of days here and there, it may impact, when you unlock Lilandra. I actually don't know, but perhaps that there isn't going to be a lot of excess of these crystal fragments, and so therefore maybe that if you don't collect all of this stuff, it may impede the potential of you getting a 7 yellow Lilandra. So I don't know if you're supposed to be doing this perfectly to the T, but I don't recommend missing these things just in case. So do keep that in mind. Of course, in game you can see it here with the Age of X Lilandra, and I am currently, so I finished all of my Cosmic Crucible stuff for this weekend, and I'm sitting at 50 out of 100 shards. So in order to get her unlocked, I would need to get down here at milestone 7. And if we're getting about 360 a day, there's probably going to be the other next weekend, this coming weekend, there's going to be another Cosmic Crucible one. So, let's just say 360 times 7, right, is 2,500. So about a week of that, plus a week of Cosmic Crucible, that's 5,000. I guess that's 10,000. So we'll probably have Lilandra unlocked in, well, for me recording this is about 10 days. But I would say, looking at my calendar, it'll be that first week of March, somewhere around then, probably 10 days from the raid start. So Thursday, the following Thursday, is probably when we'll get Lilandra unlocked, at least at 110 shards total here. So that's interesting to know. I don't think any of the other Starjammers are going to be available at that point because Patriot's, just coming out. I believe his offer is on Tuesday, so I don't think either Havoc. I'm not sure who's first up, but Havoc or Howard the Duck, I don't think that they're going to be available yet by the time of Lilandra being out. I don't know what kind of value she's going to have at a 3-star level either. So because kind of need most of the Starjammers, so I don't know. You might be, maybe there's going to be some combination of Rocket Groot, Lilandra, Gladiator, right? Because of that weird text synergy with the blocking of the expose mechanic, there might be some value there. But, I'm not a PvP expert, and I'm sure someone will figure it out if they do. So, also, the Red Stars of Lilandra should be popping up relatively soon as well. That was mentioned on the blog and also in my data mines. So let's move on over to the charts for this coming week. And let's talk about Hold the Line. This looks pretty similar for the Alliance milestone, of course. We have another 25 Peggy Carter shards. Let's go into full screen mode, of course, over here. Oh, and it's blank. Let's fix that. Oops, there we go. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I was like that. The 25 Peggy Carter shards, as usual, for Hold the Line. So if you still don't have her unlocked for whatever reason, then you should be getting pretty close to an unlock there. Otherwise, things look the same. Make sure that you're doing all the Alliance War stuff that you can see over here, right? The Alliance War battles, the stuff with Astral, Annihilators, Illuminati, and Infestation on offense or defense. Most people at this point are putting them on defense because they're getting additional buffs and stats there. So make sure that you do that. What's interesting, actually, I did want to talk about this because they did make some adjustments to that milestone now, and so I still have this active right now. I think it may have been possible to get milestone 19, but I don't know if this is still going to be the case because the 288,000 for this week is not the same points as it is for next week. There's 336,000. So I'm not sure if adding all that up to like 380,000 plus the allied supply fragments. I think we're not going to get as high as we did this week because things are really messed up with the points and the way, because we're doing 2 wars now, right? So it just seems like things are way different on the point scale. So yeah, I guess we got a little bit luckier this time around. We got to pick up some extra stuff, but of course, milestone 20 is not going to really happen there. So there we go. This is the event milestone, Justice for All. Of course, we have a lot of the same usual stuff. We'll talk about the purple ISOs and ions because they've actually decreased dramatically. Now, there was a comment that was made in one of my previous event videos suggesting that they typically reduce purple ISO and ion stuff during leaderboard events, but this one's not a leaderboard event. Or, well, I guess they got rid of it maybe, or maybe there was supposed to be one. You can see down here at milestone 18, 19, and 20, these are the replacement diamonds for Falcon Joaquin here instead. So instead of it having been a leaderboard here, now you're just flat out having to spend your way to get up there because there is no free-to-play path. And that's one of the main changes that I want to talk about here in today's video, because even if you were to hoard your ISO 8 energy, you're still limited by this cap here of 80,000 points, which, we'll get to, but it's essentially equivalent to 1900 ISO 8 energy a day, which is a lot. Like it's somewhere in the realm of like 800 power cores daily. It's really pointless because even if you were to collect all of these point limits, you still would barely scratch like milestone 15. And so there's just almost no value to events these days, which is a huge disappointment. And it does make me wonder, we'll talk about in the back half, because what does this mean for leaderboards going forward in the future when, say, Gear Tier 20 comes out? Are they going to bring leaderboards back, or are they essentially going to shove what would be on the leaderboards in these last final milestones that'll be completely impossible for any free-to-play to obtain? Previously, during the Mephisto G19 chase, those leaderboards were completable by free-to-play players if you were willing to core for that. And I don't know if that's a huge shift in the way that events are going to be running in the future. Also, another big change is that the web milestone does not have any currency for the main event. It just has for the monthly event. So it's not really that important necessarily to clear, but it is very easy and doesn't require any cores. We'll get to that too. All right, and that brings us to the Justice for All math table here. So it is a 7-day event requiring ISO 8 energy spending, Immortal X-Men, playing with Immortal X-Men and Cosmic Crucible, and your showcase energy for that web milestone. Now, the total milestone points required is 400,000. Oh, you're not getting it, right? Those are the diamonds for Falcon. But the event item is at 75,000 at milestone 14. You know what? I'm actually going to change this to, we're going to talk about that, but I'm going to change this to an orange. That means that there could be some people who get this and some people who don't. The points are a bit iffy in terms of what they're asking you to do. The total reasonable purple ions is 124,000. Now, this is pretty low because if we scroll back to some of the previous events, this past event with Life and Liberty was 280,000. Now, like I said, some people say that because it was supposed to be a leaderboard, that's why it's less. But even the week before, where we did have a leaderboard in Love and War, it was 179,000. So that was still higher than what we're going to be getting out of this, unless I missed something in the charts. But that seems to be the total that we're getting. As far as the free claims go, I normally do 500 daily. If it happens to be more than this, then great, because honestly, actually, it could be, because looking at the math, it looks really bad in terms of what they're asking you to do extra. 5,000 reasonable XP from this event. If you get to the event item, there is 0 web milestone points because it's only going to the monthly milestone only. But keep in mind that it's pretty easy to do. It requires 0 extra refreshes. So you don't need to core for this. As long as you're doing all of your regular energy spending in the showcase, you should be okay, no problem. Now, the points limits for ISO 8 related to the Justice Orb fragments. You get 6 to 1 per. They're actually telling us the ratio, which is weird. So I'm guessing this is you're getting 6 fragments off the node for every ISO 8 energy spent, right? Not that it's like like a 4 to 1 and then an additional 6. Like that's not what I'm assuming is the case here. I'm assuming it's just like you spend 12 energy and you're going to get 72, right? 12 times 6. That's what I'm assuming is going to happen here, which means that you need to spend 13.3 thousand ISO 8 energy over 7 days, or about 1900 daily. That's a lot. It's like 800 cores daily, but you don't really need to do this because getting to these extra milestones are going to be really challenging. But you do kind of, I don't have this in the sky blue, but you kind of need to have these in order to get the event item to some degree. You need a combination of some of these points here that I'm going to be highlighting. So the gear tier for 17, 18, and 19, 4 and 5 yellow, green, gray. You need 20,000 basically of this 25,000 in order to get the event item. Now, one thing that I do want to stress though is that you only need 2 of the Immortal X-Men to be geared. So if you're doing the G19, you only need, say, Jean Grey because it makes the most sense, and Storm probably. Those two make the most sense because they're usable in the Uncanny Avengers team, because there's 3 Crucible matches, right? So they didn't change that. They didn't nerf that. I'm pretty sure that in this event that we're going to be getting 3 Crucible matches. So if you use those 2 characters 3 times, then you're going to get the 5,000 points, right? In some cases, if you have them all at G19, it would just be 1 attack. But you can do this over, say, Jean Grey and Storm that make the most sense to build because they're usable in other game modes, the other characters. Or Beast, I suppose, right? He's Uncanny. He's also Immortal X-Men, but I think that it would make sense to use um, Storm because Storm is the damage. So it would be a good idea to do that, I think, if you want to double dip, if you haven't done this already. So just keep that in mind, that it's a per character basis here. But this part here is depending on the star rank of your Jean Grey. And you're going to need at least a 4 yellow in order to get the event item, I would say, because you would need to have basically 4 yellow Jean plus all of this, or a 5 yellow Jean Grey and like this, essentially, or a combination of that. You need 20,000 out of these, like kind of like 25,000 points. So keep that in mind. The 200 cores daily on ISO 8 energy. I don't know why that's a blank. That's supposed to be over 7 days. ISO fragments over 7 days. I kind of botched that, but I don't know why it's blank. Anyways, you get about 1,100 energy daily by doing 200 cores daily times 7 days and 6 points, right, or fragments. You get 47,000. So obviously it's not close to that points limit here, but honestly, it's not really worth pushing, in my opinion. Now, the reasonable points total, it's not great, right? So if you add this, it's the bulk of it is coming from the ISO 8 energy. And I included also the 5,000 points from the 4 yellow Jean Grey, which I think you should probably have at this point, and then the free claims. That gets you to 56,000, which is not good, right? You need an extra 20,000 points from the above that we just spoke about in order to get to the 75,000 that you need for the event item. So, okay, you probably see a weird edit here because I didn't include the free claims. I was wondering why this points was not 75,000 because it should be. Absolutely. But anyways, the event item is not enough for milestone 15. So just to go back to the charts for that one, milestone 15 is 100,000 over here. That gets you the 1 million gold and 2,000 additional XP. But there's just like a big jump here in 25,000 points, which realistically you can't even get, right? So this 75,000 over here includes all of the gear stuff and includes up to a 5 yellow Jean Grey. If you were to add 7 yellow Jean Grey, you're still not scraping the points that you need for the next milestone. It's absolutely wild. So yeah, this is a pretty garbage event in my opinion. It's really easy, but there may be some people who fall between the cracks who are not able to get the event items because they didn't gear, or they don't have the characters geared up. because this is the one time where you kind of do need at least like 2 characters geared up to gear 19, I think, in order to actually get the event item. So in a way, the bar is high, but the event also sucks because you can't really push it free to play. The limits on the ISO kind of sucks, and the fact that they got rid of leaderboard, there's so many bad things honestly with this, and it does question what's going to be happening in the future. I do want to touch on this very quickly at the end. So this event was supposed to be a leaderboard. They instead put the diamonds in the whale stones. You could do all of the additional inputs, and it barely moves the needle on the milestones. They're definitely trying to get people to spend on the milestone offers to make any progress. So you can't really get much further than any of this, right? Unless you buy. And that's the direct offer purchases. And that's what's garbage about it. Now, the one thing I want to talk about, and this is just rumors at this point, but I heard there's a few reasons why, we might not be seeing leaderboards too much more into the future. Now, this is a screenshot that I showed of Omega training. This was, I think, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago from now. This was obviously the Omega Red Kiln leaderboard event. And there's a couple of things here. Like, leaderboards shows player data. It shows things about where, and that's something that I was tracking every 2 weeks in terms of the decline of the player base, because I never saw a rebound personally yet. And maybe Scopely doesn't like this. The other thing, too, is that I don't think that they were making a lot of money necessarily off of the leaderboards, because when it comes to leaderboards, often they had some sort of energy input. And I know that, big time Krakens and whales have lots of energy in reserve. Maybe less so now because of level 105, but I've seen pictures of people with like hundreds of thousands or, of energy just stored up for these events. So it does make me question, how much people actually, even heavy spenders, how much they actually spent on leaderboard events, because they could get those points, in some other way, right? By just hoarding. And this kind of like, stops hoarding to a large extent, because it's all limits on here. If you want to get these diamonds for Falcon Joaquin, you have to spend, right? There's just no feasible way to get these diamonds. You have to go into the store and buy offers for these events. So it makes me wonder, going forward with Gear Tier 20 and stuff on the horizon, am I going to be able to do that free to play? Are the leaderboards going to return? Are they going to be around for Gear Tier 20? Because when I was doing the Mephisto chase in Gear 19, I did really well in getting Mephisto in the first 3,000 players, because I did really well in G19 leaderboard payouts. I got all these power cores that I'm willing to spend for leaderboard events. That's kind of partially why I've been hoarding, actually, and maybe that's possibly a conversation for another video. But if they get rid of leaderboard events as we know it, then things might change in terms of my strategy. I'm not sure, what I'll end up doing with regards to this, right? I used to also, once I hit level 105, I'll go back to hoarding energy again, which a lot of people might as well. And so maybe they're trying to do something to counter this kind of strategy, especially from free-to-play players who don't spend on events but still perform really well. Maybe they want to clamp down on this, but we'll have to see more when we have some more data, some more events that maybe signal what their intentions are with regards to that. So that's going to be the end of this video, everyone. Also, don't forget to check out Hero Wars in the description down below. If you want to download, give the game a shot, and I'll see you guys. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.